All right, hello friends. Thank you for joining me today. Daily Art Adventure 766. My clapper's lost somewhere in the shuffle. Being out here in the cold. Welcome. I'm standing outside this annual event called Art of the Carolinas. One of the biggest, maybe, art trade shows in the country. I think that's correct. Anyway, certainly hundreds of people have been here this weekend. I think there are something like 66 different instructors, of whom I am just one, from all over the country. And I volunteer to paint outside in the parking lot. Which sometimes I wonder why. The weather's almost always terrible. Anybody ever planning a wedding in November in North Carolina? Don't do it. The first weekend in November, usually pretty nice. Second weekend in November or third, not nice. So I am working on, I'll zoom in here in a minute, there's the photograph, very much edited, very heavily edited in Photoshop. Things moved, added, shifted, lighting shifted, and so on and so forth. It's a scene of a little neighborhood inside the Beltline, Raleigh, North Carolina, my hometown. And I'm doing this painting for the owner of these buildings. And at the moment, I'm doing some opaque orange because the next step in my normal process would have been opaque white, except that if I had done all these trees white, it would have become quite confusing. I couldn't distinguish between what is trees and what is other stuff. So I decided to do the trees in local color, orange. It's a fall scene. And I'm all done teaching for the weekend. It's a little bit of a relief. Today is Sunday. The event ends at 3 o'clock, so I won't be going real long today. Start packing up a little after 3 and get this big, crazy Easel packed up in my van where it normally sleeps all the time. This was the second large easel. Hey, just for fun, tell you what, I'll give you a quick tour of this easel. Bear with all the shaking and rattling here for a minute. Oh, let me zoom out. So it's a store-bought easel. Jerry's used to sell it. I don't know if you can see that. It's called Sanye Professional. But I added the outrigger legs. I added the box for a car battery. Normally the car battery goes in the box, but I just got lazy. And the car battery ran my sound system and my lights. Although I'm not using it for either. Today I'm just using it for weight. And I added the umbrella holder and a bunch of other little stuff. And then here's my, what's it called, tabaret cart that goes with this kit. So this was an easel that I put together about 10 years ago, I guess. And used to use it a lot at a lot of outdoor functions. It has since been replaced, as far as frequency of use, replaced by my next smaller easel. So as I get older, my easels get progressively smaller. No surprise there. But the one that I built when I was, what, 46, 7 years old, that was the big one. That one weighs 1,000 pounds and requires a specially built trailer to haul around stuff. So getting smaller from there is, you know, even my smallest easel is still bigger, way bigger than what most plein air painters use. And I'm very much glad for the all the weight and structure of this easel, because it is quite breezy out here. So not only is it cold, I mean, it's the temperature on the thermometer is not that bad today, 45 or something like that, a balmy 45 degrees. But this is a steady 10, 15 mile an hour breeze, which puts wind chill below 30. I'm sorry, not below 40, into the 30s, not below 30. You know what I mean. Anyway, so I'm pretty well bundled up. And you may ask me, so why am I painting out here? They're not paying me. Maybe they should. It's possible they should be paying me. I might consider ask here next year. This is my traditional spot at Art of the Carolinas. I'm out here because I get a lot of exposure to my fellow artists. I get a lot of amazement. I get a lot of kudos and awe and respect. You know, just your basic show-off stuff. That's if you want a word. Why am I here? Because I'm showing off. Also called marketing. Showing off, marketing, the same thing, really. And I'm already at a moment where I need to take a little break, so forgive me in a minute here. I'll be abandoning you, and I'll pause the broadcast, then come back in a little while and continue. So I taught 3 classes here this weekend, and I'll tell you, everything you do, of course, you rethink everything. After everything you do, you rethink it, right? In life, in all of life, not just as an artist, but in all of life. You do something, then you go, I wonder if I should do something different next time. So that's sort of the way I'm feeling right now. I'm sort of wondering if I should just sort of narrow down the focus of my teaching. You guys can comment on this if you want. Should I narrow down the focus of my teaching and just teach? I'm not sure exactly what I would call it, but just teach my weird, unusual, unconventional approach to painting. And again, I've said this before. I didn't set out to be weird. I didn't set out to be unusual. I wasn't trying to, do anything. It just has evolved that way. It's just turned that way, little by little by little over the years. And you regulars have watched even some of that process in the last year or two. So I have wondered if I should just say, to heck with it. From now on, I'm not going to teach anything but just how to paint weird like Dan Nelson. Because even last night, when I was ostensibly teaching how to paint trees, of course I was teaching how to paint trees the Dan Nelson way. And anyway, I'm mulling all these things over. All right, that looks better, doesn't it? Better than what, you say? Good question. I'm asking that myself. Better than what? Better than it did. Shut up. Here's another one of my camouflage cars. This car is very close to the viewer, of course, takes up a big amount of space, and it has to be drawn pretty accurately, especially if it's this close. It has to be pretty accurate. So I'll work on getting that accurate. But I don't want it to dominate the painting. So it's going to be very much like it is already. It's going to be camouflaged. It's going to be the same color as the background, like a chameleon, so that I get the benefit of a block, a shape there, but it doesn't dominate the scene. Just a little bit more. The front of this little building right here. One of my fellow artists was out here with me a little while ago. She from Raleigh, and she knows this neighborhood. We were laughing at what a shame it is that this building right here is a dry cleaner. Because it's a beautiful little building. Oh boy, I guess they pay the bills, you know, so they have the right to be there because they pay the bills. But it ought to be an art gallery. That's what it ought to be. We're just saying. All right, I'll take a little break, go in and warm up for a few minutes. Sorry for the interruption. Hello to Uncle 60 again, Artist Ross. Oh, the piano playing. That's appreciate that. Commenting artist on Artist Ross on the music. Whoa, Uncle 60 gave me some good technical food grade propylene glycol based do-it-yourself acrylic mediums are good for cold windy days. What? Wow. Wow. Thanks, Uncle 60. That's a good, interesting comment. And the music, I'm sorry, it flew by. The music that I'm playing is from a prescription service. I pay $15 a month to Epidemic Sound, and they have tens of thousands of tracks, and you get to, you know, collect the ones you like. So I have no idea what song that was, but thank you. All right, I'll be back in a little while. Sorry for the interruption. Gotta go. Be back in a bit. Bye. No, I do not habla español. I'm sorry about that. All right. Welcome back, friends. Sorry for that interruption. Got my coffee, ran into some old friends, had a great visit. And
would you rather short straw to be out here?
Say that, what?
Would you rather short straw to be out here in the cold?
Yeah, you're not quite dressed for it. Yeah.
Did you leave this stuff out here all night?
I did. Yes, sir.
You don't worry about anybody messing with
Well, I thought about it. It's a calculated risk, you know. I mean, I know some.
It would be a pain to pack everything
Yes,
up.
and I thought, well, no, I did take my new silver brushes,
Yeah.
the expensive ones, mostly out of there.
Yeah.
Because I thought, well, yeah, somebody could come and I just think, what are the odds? What are the percentages?
Well, you know, everybody here has got more art supply. Almost
That's
everybody
right.
walking around has got more than they need.
That's what
So,
I'm thinking.
you know,
So, and if I try to make them look like they're all old and worn out, they're not quite that attractive. Are you guys artists? Are you an art chauffeur?
I'm one of the vendors.
Oh, are you really?
Yeah.
What do you do? I'm Dan.
I'm Carrie with McPherson. We got various things in there this time.
McPherson.
Pillow, thin sets,
And what do I'm sorry, you do?
Art spouse.
You're what? Art spouse. Yeah. Art chauffeur. Well, thanks for visiting me. So is this your first AOC?
Second. It was the first time last year. And I came back, so I
All
got
right.
it.
You, that's right. You must be. Well, I've been out here most years that they've had it, but last 2 years I missed. So this is me kind of back where I belong.
What pencil are you using?
Yeah, that's. Whoops, Jerry's makes it. Jerry's Artorama Jumbo Jet Black.
Okay, is it wax or is it?
It is a wax base. It's a little greasier than a Conti crayon, not as greasy as a grease pencil.
Okay.
I stumbled on this about 3 years ago, I guess. One summer, I did a whole bunch of abstract paintings, and because I was, doing abstracts, you feel a little looser.
Yeah.
So I picked these up and found out I just loved them.
Yeah.
So when I came back to my normal stuff, this is acrylics. I'm gonna do oil on top, and I discovered that these play really well with both water and oil.
Yeah.
Jerry's makes them somewhere in China.
What are they called? I mean, what are they?
Jumbo Jet Black. No. It's a wax. It's a wax product, and so it is very, as you know, very unconventional to use pencils in an oil painting. But conventional has never been my problem. And so I use them, as you can see, partly for drawing, but also partly just for the sheer texture of them. How are you all ladies? Have you come from near or far?
Yeah.
How? Raleigh? Oh, that's near. That's called near. Unless you walked,
I wasn't sure.
then it's far. Y'all were.
We're from Sanford.
Oh yeah, still near.
Not as near as that.
No. I did, didn't I? And with that breeze coming down my now I feel like the kid in Christmas Story. Oh, please do. Please. Shoot and post, please. You're welcome. Yeah, I would much rather be doing a big painting, showing off, but I'm being paid for this one.
So, do you know Jim Behringer?
I sure do.
I'm his friend Gail Hogan. He has wanted.
Oh my goodness. Hi,
I
Gail.
can't believe it when I walked out here and I thought, that can't be Dan Nelson. Okay, so I saw you out here a couple years ago. Didn't know you knew Jim at that time.
Uh-huh.
Jim comes to our home group.
In
I don't-
Sanford.
In Sanford. And he
Oh
said he
my
wanted you to
goodness.
come.
Yes,
He
indeed.
wanted us to meet. But I will tell you what an impact you've had on my life. I saw you at Moore Square, is that right?
Yeah?
And you were painting huge canvases, and
Yeah.
someone told me that you would, after you did that this was like a symphony, that like when a symphony is over, it's over, and that you would burn them.
Wash it all off.
Wash
Scrub it off.
And that had an impact
hurt
on
me.
Because people would offer you money, but you said no because
Yeah.
this was your worship.
Yeah.
You have no idea the impact that's had on me.
No kidding.
So years ago, the Lord told me to write a book, and He said, no shortcuts, Gail. The book will be, it was called R.E. I did like a devotional of all of 300 pages of words starting with R.E. as a devotional. Never got published, had a publisher lined up, never went through with it. So just recently, I was listening to something from Chuck Pierce. I forget who was talking at the time, but they were going over these R.E. words, and I felt like the Holy Spirit said, what you did in writing that book was to open up what's happening now.
Wow.
And He brought back you.
No kidding.
And
Woohoo.
it was my worship. Like it
Oh
was
my
your
goodness.
painting,
Yeah.
That no one may ever see it except Him.
Yeah.
That when a symphony is over, because you had said something about, when a symphony's done playing, it's done.
It's done. Yeah.
It's one time. And I felt, I cannot tell you, even this week in my phone, you'll see someone got a word for someone all these RE words. And I said, let me look these up. I said, because I've written on all these words. And I said, I will do that for you. But that was my worship. And I finally
Wow.
had peace. I was able to lay the book
Wow.
down. And so I wanted you to know that it was just, that has just recently happened. And you know, and here I am, nobody you know, nobody you know.
Yeah, yeah.
But to know that that has spoken to
Wow.
me all those years ago. Randy Clark was there that night.
Yeah, that's
I
right.
remember Randy Clark getting up and saying, I usually don't speak to small groups. And then, but his board allowed him to come that night. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
And something else, I had a meeting in Sanford on Monday night, and this group of pastors and prophets had gotten together, and they want to do something in January. And they were saying about, well, we're praying it'll be 80-degree weather, and I'm not going there because I know what God has told me about being comfortable. But what God did remind me of was you.
Yeah, that's right. Out there in the winter.
In the winter, snow, they met every week.
Yeah.
It didn't matter what the weather was.
Yeah.
And again, to have that impact. So the Lord told me a couple of years ago, we were having a speaker come up from Brownsville to our house. I'd never even met him. His name's Trey Meyer. And the Lord says to me the night before, he goes, I cannot work through the God and the idol of being comfortable in America.
Wow.
He said, turn off the air conditioners, no fans, not even hand fans, no rags of water. And now I don't even know this guy, and I'm standing up, my house is complete. Jim was there. House is completely packed. It's like 90 degrees. And I said, look, you guys, God told me last night he can't work through being comfortable.
Wow.
He can't do it. So we are turning, no air conditioners tonight, no fans, no nothing, put everything away. And there were people who never came back to my house again. But you know what? Fine. But you know what? I know what the Lord told me. Americans. And you know what? He came in power that night.
Wow.
He came in unbelievable power because we were willing to lay down, wanting to be comfortable. So here's this woman the other night saying, well, I'm praying that it'll be
80 degrees.
And
in
I
January.
look across at the leaders and I tell them, you know, I'm not going there.
It'll
Yeah.
probably be 20.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Because you know what?
Right.
If we be Gideon's army, because we're willing to brave the elements.
Yeah.
But again, here, the inspiration.
That's amazing, Gail.
The inspiration.
Well, thank
So,
you.
no, thank
That
you.
blesses me.
Thank you, because you know sometimes you don't know when
No,
you're the
that's
tip of the
right.
plow.
That's
of
right.
The plow.
Yeah.
You don't know that you're doing that.
Yeah.
So I want you to know.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, so-
How fun. And we are going to come. My wife Nancy's been talking
I've met
to
her years ago.
somebody at your group that she's doing ministry with. Cindy? Is there a Cindy there?
I don't.
No, I've got the wrong name.
I don't know that.
That's
one.
anyway.
But yeah,
good,
but
we're
Jim
gonna
has
come.
wanted us. Jim comes on Saturday. We meet every
Yeah.
other Saturday right now.
Yeah.
So we had just changed. The Lord told us that
Wow.
we needed to go to every other week. So that's what we're doing
Wow.
for this season. So yeah.
Excellent.
So we'll meet in the 30th.
Well, thank you for that story.
No, thank you. Thank you.
That's great. What
I
fun.
can't wait to tell Jim that
Yeah.
we're connected. But thank you, and thank you for your art. But
Thank you.
yeah, I'm not there.
That's great.
I think
Appreciate
you
it.
actually judged one of our shows years ago.
Oh yeah, that's
Yes.
right. I did.
Yes, you did. It's Stanford Russian.
Yeah,
Park.
yeah,
We just
that's
had our
right.
55th show.
How
Yes.
about that's right.
Yes. So. But thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks, Gail.
Bye.
Appreciate that. How about that? So where was I artistically, and what was I saying? Forget what I was saying. Where am I? Anyway. So I get lots of interruptions out here, as you can tell. That's what I'm here for. Besides to show off and get attention. Enough about you, let's talk about me now. Besides that, I am here to interact with people, which I of course love very much. I'm looking a lot at, are there any chats here? Oh good, some of the rest of you speak Spanish to our Spanish-speaking friends here. I'm looking at the photograph very carefully here, drawing. Oh, so I was saying a while ago, before I took a break, I was talking about whether I might shift the focus of my teachings. Yeah, well, in-person teaching. I love teaching, as you can tell. I hope you can tell. I might not be very good at it, but I really love it. But even last night, for instance, I was teaching a class on how to paint trees. It's the first time I've ever, in my whole career of teaching, done a how to paint noun class. You know, I've done it online, but I've never done it, you know, how to paint anything. And of course I picked trees because there's so many early journey artists that are doing landscapes, and most landscapes include trees, and so many people have so much trouble with trees. So that's what prompted me to do that subject. But I still had two more, what's the word? Because of course I was teaching them how to paint trees my way. My way, or the... You finish it. And I don't want to be doing people a disservice, because I think some people, they're early journey painters, they're not really ready for that. What they want is ABC, really elementary level instruction, and they jump into a class by me and all of a sudden find themselves like overwhelmed. They don't have the most rudimentary elements of painting under their belt, so that when they run into me, it's like, whoa, what? Anyway, I ramble. That's what I do here on this channel. I ramble. I'm looking, thinking, standing, looking, thinking.
Are you doing one every day?
No.
Was this the one that was out the first day?
No, the first day was a great big one, but I wasn't being paid for that. Then I got approval for this commission.
Excellent.
So
Awesome.
chuck the big one that I'm not being paid
I'm
for.
with you. I am so, your picture came out really cute, and I'll try and send it through.
Oh,
Jerry so
thank
you get it.
you.
Yeah,
Appreciate it. Thanks so much.
You're fascinating.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Glad I remembered to drink that coffee while it was still almost hot. Not quite, but close. I like this painting. It's too bad this isn't my style, right? It's too bad this isn't what I'm known for. I could be done right now. I'm debating. Hang on, just bear with me just a minute while I wonder if I should go straight to oils right now. Think. The alternative to that would be I would do a little bit more white. Yeah. I'm going to do a little bit more white. Good enough. Enough said. I'm trying to get my music going here again. I've lost my music momentarily. I love my my system. It just is irritating that it fails so often. So bear with me just a minute. Let me try to get it going again. Hang on, I'm gonna walk around here. All right, connected to my speaker. Let's see if we can get the music playing. Come, come, come. Sorry for this high quality broadcast. It would be much easier if...
How late are you out here today?
Pardon?
How late are you out here
Oh, I'll
today?
start packing up around 3. That's what time the event
I wanna
officially
make sure I don't
ends.
miss the progress here.
Okay.
Is that right?
Yep, that is totally all right.
I love it.
And you're from Chapel Hill, is that right?
No, I'm from South Carolina.
Oh, I had you
No.
way off.
I'm nobody. I'm just learning, but so you know who you're talking to
Oh,
later
good.
when I send
Oh,
you
good,
the
good.
stuff.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
You're very welcome.
Oh,
Thank
very
you.
good. And do you do
life.
portrait? Do you
I used to
photography?
do photography, and I'm learning how to paint.
Good for you. Good for you. Oh, fun. Okay, I quit. I'm quit messing with the music. It's not working. Let's do a few white details, and then I go to oil. I virtually always do white last thing in acrylics before I go on to oil. And some of what made me think I needed to do one more layer of white is I need a little bit more drawing to be done down here. I think normally I probably wouldn't try to capture much, if any, detail down this street. But this particular commission is being done for the man who owns all these buildings, or at least most of them. I don't know if every single one, but he owns these buildings, including these down the street. So he was anxious to have sort of the whole neighborhood rendered in this painting. So, and no, that's no problem. No problem. I think sometimes I feel like I run into artists who sort of take offense at being told what to do. That might be putting it too strongly, but you know, kind of a harumph. I am the artist. How dare you tell me what to paint? And as I like to say often, we have a name. We have a name for those kind of artists. They're called starving artists. And of course, then we all think, no, but you know, then we can name some uber famous artist who, you know, could paint whatever he wanted. And I'm not even talking about like the crazy contemporary modern people who are preaching at us through their. I'm not even making reference to them. I mean, people who are like me, focused on creating beauty. I've had some delightful conversations this week and this weekend with my fellow artists about some of the deeper challenges and issues aswirl around us in the world of art. one in particular we were talking about, and one of my students from Thursday night, who's does abstract paintings. It was a drawing class, and she's an abstract painter, and ironically, she was possibly the best drawer in the class. Now, don't tell any of my other students that I said that. Ostensibly, I'll say. You could argue. It's not about, about a competition. It's not about naming. It's the best. But my point being is a delicious irony that she is an abstract painter and yet is quite a good drawer. And she was very clear about the fact that she works on her drawing, even though she's an abstract painter. Anyway, and I ran into her yesterday, I think it was, after the class, and we were talking about the world of art, especially with reference to the contemporary art scene. And in one way to summarize, and I'll try not to get too preachy and go down this path too far, but in the world of art, the dividing line, if you will, is the issue of beauty. There are many among us who, for various and sundry reasons, believe that beauty is a bad thing. And you may be saying, well, how could you say that, or how could they say that? Well, it's quite simple. I'll explain it to you in case you're not aware of some of the dynamics. Some of the more cogent among them, would acknowledge that beauty, that the depiction of beauty in paintings, that is to say, the striving for beauty, which clearly I and many of my compatriots are engaged in, the depiction of beauty is essentially a dishonest endeavor, because and many people, of course, and here I'm stumbling now into the world of philosophical ruminations, and many people are not at all accustomed to philosophical discussions, and if that's you, then you kind of have to hold back and say, wait a minute, wait, don't, you can't judge what I'm saying with sort of a Monday Night Football mentality about if this subject at hand is a philosophical subject. And nothing wrong with Monday Night Football, but it's not. The philosophical ruminations are not widely, what's the word? It's not part of our pop culture. I'll just put it that way. It's a few of us weirdos think philosophically, and most people do not. So thus the allusion to Monday Night Football. And again, I personally enjoy a good Monday Night Football, so that it's not totally. I'm not elitist in that sense of the word, but the prevailing worldview. So many people, everybody has a worldview. Only people who are introspective and or philosophical or philosophically trained are aware of their personal worldview. Everybody has one. Most people, your typical man on the street, so to speak, is completely unaware of his or her worldview. They say, "Oh, what are you talking about?" I'm sorry. Sorry to use the Neanderthalish inflection to make the point. Anyway, the prevailing worldview, philosophically, among academia, among the intellectual elite in our culture, the prevailing worldview is decidedly dark and gloomy. And so when someone like myself has the gall, the nerve to create or attempt to create beautiful works of art, we are considered generally, and this is not, I'm not speaking from a place of I'm hurt or offended, don't misunderstand me. But just, you know, we're all attempting in a sense to understand the swirling world around us, and we're all trying to make sense of it. This is one of the senses that I have made, that the predominant worldview among contemporary artists, I don't mean artists that are living today, I mean artists who are working in the contemporary genre, or what most people would loosely call modern art. Again, here, when I use that term now, I'm not using it like an academic or historian. I'm using it like a common man on the street, what an ordinary person calls, what my wife would call modern art. Dry cleaners, hang on. Drycleaners. Those letters will most certainly not be legible in this finished painting. Anyway, among the college-educated academics, movers, shakers, thinkers, you could say elite, the academic elite or the intellectual elite in our culture, their worldview is decidedly pessimistic. I think it's fair to say. Even though I find this very ironic, because all of them, of course, would be what's the word? Militant evolutionists, which, and I don't have an argument per se with that. I have an argument with the militancy, the religious evolutionists. That is, those for whom the theories of evolution are in fact a religion. One of the ironies to me is if you believe, so to speak, in macroevolution, then it seems to me you ought to be an optimist. Hear me out for a second, because you assert, we assert, I'll say it that way, that for the last 13.7 billion years, the overall trajectory of the cosmos and life has been astoundingly positive because we are here. And I'm one of those crazy people that believes that once a race, a being, like a being, I'll say not a race, a being like humankind achieves self-awareness, as we indeed clearly have, then we become, what's the word, the drivers of our own evolutionary progress. And the evidence that we have in fact done that we have for the last several thousand years, that we have in fact been more or less successfully steering our own evolutionary process is quite clear to me. And so it seems to me there's a lot of reason for optimism, because so far so good, and I expect the future will be so far so much gooder, and that really is. Now, every once in a while somebody, I don't know, the chances that some heavy philosophical person will actually listen to this this broadcast right here, but it's conceivable that some would, and someone with academic credentials or so forth, and they would, of course, they're having a seizure right now, and casting all kinds of epithets at me about my ignorance and so forth. And part of me wants to defend myself and say, not so fast, Smedley. I'm not as ignorant as you may think. Painting is what I do. It's very, very fair and honest to say philosopher is what I am, be that as it may. And I have some, not a lot, some credentials to support that self-impression. Anyway, so I think there's room for optimism, actually. But, and I'm playing my cards philosophically, somewhat close to my chest. Among the ruling elite in our broader intellectual culture in the West today, the view is decidedly dark and negative. They do not share my optimism. And in fact, me speaking it would trigger them and make them quite angry, and just they would pick up ad hominem arguments instantly and say, I'm a stupid, ignorant, whatever, because that's what grumpy people do, frankly. And I'm going somewhere with this. Let's get back to art. Let's reel it back in. And I do have people periodically say, stick to art, buddy. You're a good painter, but, well, I'm sorry, the people who are saying that are actually way more ignorant. Again, I have more degrees and credentials in philosophy than I do in art. Be that as it, my inner core being is a philosopher. Art is what I do with my hands and my head and my heart, but philosophy is my core identity. Yeah, I'm Dan Nelson. Hello.
Glad to meet you.
Hey, Jim. Good to see you. You are not dressed to be out here very long.
No.
Neither of you
One of
are.
those things, we weren't going to come here, and I said, let me go one more day.
Good
before
for
we
you.
go on.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Don't spend too much.
Already
I've only
have.
made 6 trips in
Already
and
have.
buy something every time.
I know. This is my third time.
But we'll use it all.
We will. We will.
So where is that?
This is Oberlin Village
Oh, okay.
at the corner of Fairview and Oberlin. That little,
okay.
have you been
Saw
here?
this before.
Haven't you? Yeah, this is my medium big easel.
Okay.
I have one bigger than this.
Well, windy day. I hope
Yeah.
it's a block.
Oh, you can see the car battery's 75 pounds just there to hold it down. See ya. All right, so where was I? So I know I'm going down a crazy tangent, probably driving some of you crazy, and I keep throwing in way too many self-defensive caveats. I know. I'll just let you know I recognize that fact. Lest you say, quit defending yourself. All right, just tell us what you think and quit defending yourself. Ah, there's a voice of a mature voice. Hey, man. Good. So just again, I'm reflecting on the culture in which we all find ourselves. Those of us who try to create beautiful paintings are generally regarded as either dishonest or misguided, because we should be all sort of depressed and pessimistic like all the smart, educated people are. Wink, wink. And it really does bother them. Let me take the other side. For instance, the people among us, and there are many painters, artists among us. There are not many at an event like this that I'm at right now, because the cultures tend to sort of separate along fundamental lines. So most of the people that come to an event like this are like me, trying to create beautiful paintings. But in the contemporary art world, those who, and there are many, who create truly and sometimes astonishingly dark, ugly, and depressing paintings. And you guys, if you've been to a contemporary art show, museum, you know whereof I speak. They are not doing it accidental, it is on purpose. Well, again, to use that horrible term, the ruling elite among us praise such artworks for their honesty. See, that ugly artwork, ugly paintings are hailed and praised as honest. See? Does that make sense? That is one of the, his artwork is very honest. Maybe raw. His or her artwork is very raw and very honest. See, what they're saying is, we, the human race, reality, the cosmos, the universe, is all screwed. Replace an even harder word, even more negative word than that, and you'll begin to catch the true spirit of it. We're all screwed. And therefore, art should reflect our screwedness. And I think all I'm doing here is just trying to, some of you who you don't particularly want to traffic in philosophical ruminations, I want to bring you over into my world for a bit, so you can understand why is it that I and so many of us are trying so hard to do beautiful paintings, and yet when you go to a contemporary art show or a contemporary art museum, the artwork there is decidedly dark, negative, gloomy, depressing, so on. In fact, I spoke with this is very typical, very, very, very typical. Just last night, just yesterday out here in the parking lot, a young artist in her late 20s, I would guess, with whom I had periodic interaction over the years. And she is now launched out into her own art career. And this is very typical, so I'm not picking on any one person. This is very, 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 very typical. And she showed me her work, and it was decidedly negative, dark, gloomy. And it had a picture of a dark, disturbing picture of a sort of like an Aboriginal African person sucking the brains out of a baboon skull. And it was disturbing and intentionally so. And this young lady, young white American, middle class, affluent young lady, kind of and again, this is typical, just typical. You can multiply this times a million. And she kind of chuckled a little bit and said, "Yeah, I kind of like my art to be a little shocking." And my response, I was nice. I did not say a thing, but that is so typical. In fact, she feels like she's being kind of edgy by doing, and this one painting was not an aberration for her. That this was her native, this was her typical, this was her style. All her artwork was dark. And in fact, I don't blame her for doing dark, depressing, disturbing artwork, because being a product of the American education system and university system in particular, she is fully imbibed in the depressive worldview that was fed to her over years and years and years of more or less public education. So she without, and I don't know how philosophically sophisticated she is, but I would say she's buying into a worldview. She has bought into it, kind of hook, line, and sinker, if you will, and she's following the path. She's not being creative or unique or unusual or independent thinking. She is she's like a lemming. She is jumping into the sea with all the other lemmings. How do I know that? How can I say that? Oh, because her artwork is exactly like 90% of her peers. So that's why I say that. Anyway, those of us who create beauty are on the outs with the art and intellectual elite, because I'm trying to create beauty. I hope this is clear. And we are not among the popular. Now, am I broadcasting for real? I think I am, but my monitor, I have, again, strange system that my little iPad monitor. So I haven't been seeing any of your chats for the last 30 minutes. If anybody said a chat, and the only way I can get out of that is I have to restart my iPad. It's a crazy system, crazy, crazy system. So hang on, I'm in the process of doing that right now because I would sort of like to see if any of you have. So you can, of course, ignore all of my crazy ruminations again. But some of you might have wondered, well, how come some of us are working so hard to create beautiful paintings? Why does a person like Dan Nelson, who generally speaking seems like a reasonably intelligent person, why is he so out of touch with the prevailing, style, and he's trying to create beautiful paintings when evidently all the really, really smart people are doing very dark and depressive stuff? And that's the question I'm addressing, if you will. All right, I think I'm done with acrylics. I actually did quite a bit more detail in those in that acrylic layer than I had expected to, but I'm very glad that I did. So now I'm ready to go to oil. So this this requires a break here because it's going to take me about 10 minutes to switch all my stuff, all my equipment over from acrylics to oil. But before I go, let me turn my iPad back on and catch up, see if any of you guys have chatted, see if I've triggered anybody with my ramblings. Hang on just a second. Hello. Thank you. Thank you. Are you an artist? Are you here for the show?
Yes.
Excellent. Well, no. Come on. Oh. 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 Oh.
She's very famous. Her name is Pepper.
Bedford?
Pepper.
Pepper. Hello, Pepper. Come on, Pepper. Oh, there we go. Hang on, I'm going to still try to pull up. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to end this broadcast here in just a minute and start another one. So but before I go, let me see how many chats I've missed in the last 30 minutes or so. My iPad is warming up. Hopefully I'll see you all in just a minute. Hey, you know what I can do while I'm waiting for that? The very next thing that I'm going to do, of course, is an oil glaze, right? And so before I do an oil glaze here in the last 6 or 8 months or so, maybe the last 12, I can't remember. Time flies. Oh, good. Yeah, there are some of you guys have chatted with some of you with me. So let me go back and catch up. I don't know if you're still watching or not, but I'll take just a minute and see what you've said. David Mercer, I'm looking at your last comment first, and I agree that is when people paint on the dark side, I put it this way, they are speaking, so to speak, their native tongue. The dark side is inside all of us. The gloomy, depressed, the dark side of the force is inside all of us. And it doesn't take any particular genius, like the young lady I described a few minutes ago. She felt like she was really edgy and smart because she was painting disturbing paintings. You know, I didn't say anything to her, and it wasn't my place. It didn't feel appropriate, but that is not genius. That's falling off a log. That's every human being has those dark impulses, and sort of speaking out of that dark place is easy. It's our native tongue. So I agree with you, David. There's a real distinct laziness there. All right, let me go back and see. Oh my goodness, you guys have been chatting. Whoops. Uncle says, going way back, I appreciate it, says your teaching method might have flown over their heads. That's exactly what I felt. Horatio, it was like it was just over their heads. Yeah, I know the streams were terrible the last 3 nights. I am so sorry about that. Just getting a kick out of you guys talking to each other. I look like a gangster in that hoodie. David says the white car is too small, needs to be a bit taller. You might be right. Thanks for the thought. It's a Mini Cooper, yeah. David, I'm assuming you're talking about this one, but it could be this one. Anyway, good tip. Thank you, thank you. I will look at those. Philosophy Rant 101. Definitely. Very definitely. Got it. Looking at your comments, David. I agree. Appreciate that. Penny says, thanks, Penny. Appreciate it. All right, I got all your comments. I appreciate that very much. It's fun. So I'll stop here and switch everything over, and I'll start a new broadcast when I get back. Okay. Thanks. Bye.